walked 100 miles in 30 days on my walking pad under desk treadmill, and there were some rather unexpected results. So I initially got my walking pad treadmill so that I could get in some more steps while the weather where I live here in Wales is a little bit grim. And I also heard all these amazing benefits for people with ADHD, for increased productivity. And if you're new here, by the way, hi, I am Ree from mummyof4.com, and I was recently diagnosed with ADHD at age 40, so I'm still kind of trying to figure all of this out. So my walking pad came, I unboxed it, I bought the walking pad C1. So initially when it came, I was just using it for walking and watching my favourite show, which at the moment is Bridgerton. Is that not everyone's favourite show at the moment? Then when my sit-stand desk came and the new desk setup was set up, I started using it for walking while working. And this is where I noticed one of the first big changes. I had heard how much walking and working could increase your focus and productivity, especially with ADHD. But honestly, I was confused how that could be true. Surely having to do more would make it harder to concentrate. But it turns out, for my brain at least, that's not the way it's worked. There are certain things I do in my job, which is creating content here on YouTube. I have a podcast, I have a planner store. Certain elements are really creative and keep me really engaged. And certain things are just downright boring, because when you are a solopreneur and you do all the things in your business, there are certain jobs that you're going to have to do that are really, really boring. And I struggled to do those, honestly. I'd struggle to not be like, oh yeah, I need to go dash off and do this thing that I'd forgotten to do that's really important that I have to do right now instead of this, because this is boring. And I found that just the simple act of walking while working, it's like it engaged my brain more and took away that bit that kept kind of tearing me away to want to go and do other things. It's not like I was consciously saying don't fall off the treadmill, but clearly my brain having to subconsciously take those steps and not fall off the treadmill was enough to stop me from being distracted. I think that's the best way I can explain it. And there are certain things that I can do easier while walking on the walking pad and certain things that I find a little more tricky. So for example, my typing is not super accurate anyway. So if I'm walking quite fast on the walking pad, some of my typing becomes a little less accurate, and it's already not terribly accurate. So for that kind of thing, I'd have to walk a little slower. But for things like editing, which it does require a lot of focus, but it's more like clicks and finger stuff than hitting lots and lots of keys like it would be with typing, I can do walking quite quickly. So honestly, for the focus and productivity thing, I cannot speak for everyone, but for me, it's 100% made it easier for me to focus and stay productive having a walking pad. The next thing I found a little bit surprising, especially after all the videos I watched here on YouTube, is that actually I can walk a lot faster while working than I thought I'd be able to. I've got my walking pad app set up with 3 walking speeds for doing various tasks. Initially, it's set at 1.3 miles per hour, which works out as 2.09 kilometers per hour. And this is a really, really slow, just about moving my feet kind of thing. So if I am doing something I really need to concentrate, like I'm having to write a really important part of an email, I don't want to have to retype, and it's really requiring some extra brain power, I will switch my walking pad down to this 1.3 miles per hour, and that's so slow it's almost standing still. But generally, for most of my work, I either walk at 2.5 miles per hour, which works out as 4.02 kilometers per hour, or generally my kind of favorite go-to speed to walk out is actually 3 miles per hour, which is 4.82 kilometers per hour. And I can do almost all of my work at this 3 miles per hour speed. Now, I didn't think I would be able to walk anywhere near that fast and actually still get work done, but I can, which is amazing because it's enough to really create some other changes and differences in my general life. So one of the big differences I have noticed, especially when walking at the faster paces of either 2.5 or 3 miles per hour, is it really uplifts my mood. Even if I'm feeling in a bit of a funk, even if some negative stuff has been going on, I find that just the act of walking at that speed, especially if I add a little bit of uplifting music while I walk and work, my mood is massively improved. And I genuinely think that when you're in a better mood, your creativity's flowing better, you're more productive, you get more done, You feel like you've accomplished more at the end of the day, which puts me in an even better mood. It has a bit of a knock-on effect. Another big difference I've noticed, and this has really, really helped me, is that by walking on the walking pad, I've kind of avoided the sort of sleepy slumps that I would have while just working all day at my desk. Often I'd find, and perhaps this coincided with the type of work I was doing, I'd have certain times of the day where I felt really sleepy. You would have thought that walking on a walking pad would actually make you more sleepy, would make you more tired, and in a way it does, and we'll come to that. But during the day, I'm finding my energy levels are far more consistent, and I'm not falling into these, certainly afternoon slumps where I'm feeling sluggish and I'm feeling less creative. I'm generally feeling less tired through the day, which is amazing. While we're on the topic of sleep, I would say I'm sleeping so much better at night since doing my walking while working. I guess I'm more tired from actual physical activity by the time I go to bed, which is kind of what we want, isn't it? We want to be more awake in the day and be able to have better quality sleep at night. I find that I'm waking less in the night, and actually just being able to sleep and wake up feeling more rested and refreshed and ready for the day. Now, in the interest of balance, I think it's important to share negative side effects as well as positive ones. And I will say that I did experience some lower back pain at the beginning of when I started walking and working. It's definitely subsided now, but it's like my lower back and my body in general had to get used to the increased activity. Now, there are loads of scientific studies to explain the benefits of moving around and indeed the dangers of sitting at a desk for 8 hours and not moving, and how, I mean, I know this from firsthand, how when I'm hunched over a desk for too long, I end up with a stiff neck, I need physio more often. There are just all sorts of health problems that can come along with not moving enough. And when I spoke to my physio, she said that it was kind of to be expected that when I was moving to this new way of working, that I would have a few more kind of aches and pains during this transition phase. But when you got past that and through the other side of it, then you would feel great. And I would say I would have to agree with her, and that was very much more like a speed bump when I started, and generally now I'm feeling so much better in my body. So now for some health benefits that have been picked up by my Apple Watch in my health app on my phone. Over the last 4 weeks since using my walking pad, the average number of hours I've been standing a day has increased from 10 to 14. The average number of steps I've been taking in a day has increased from around 5,400 to around 16,400 steps per day. That is such a massive difference. Now, every time I use my walking pad, it is recorded through the app as a workout. So the number of recorded workout minutes has gone up from an average of 25 minutes to an average of 2 hours and 12 minutes per day. The active energy I've burnt in calories has gone from 330 calories per day to 652 per day. Now, my exercise minutes, this is when your Apple Watch picks up that you're exercising or are doing enough activity in order to be considered exercise, even if you don't log it as exercise. And this has increased from 26 minutes per day to 131 minutes per day on average. My walking and running distance, and I don't do running by the way, I just do walking, and previously I was just walking back and forth to the school if it wasn't raining. So my average walking, we'll scrap the running, distance has changed from 3.6 kilometers per day to 7.9 kilometers per day. My cardio recovery has changed. Now, apparently this is heart rate recovery, an estimate of how quickly your heart rate could drop after you reach your peak heart rate during exercise. And apparently this has changed from 22 beats per minute to 29 beats per minute. I believe that's good. I think that means my heart is recovering quicker. And on top of this, I measured my waist 4 weeks ago, and I've measured it again now. And my waist is actually 2 inches smaller than it was 4 weeks ago. So by using my walking pad and walking this 100 miles over the course of 30 days, I have lost 2 inches off my waist, as well as all of those other health benefits. I've got to say that's a lot more than I was expecting. Now, I've got to say there are other things that I have been doing since walking and working, and we are going to talk about food and perhaps a slightly unhealthy relationship with food. So trigger warning, if you want to skip ahead, feel free. Now, as someone that works from home and has access to the kitchen at all times and no one to watch me if I want to eat whatever I want to eat, I definitely got into some really bad habits of snacking at my desk. I'm never an advocate for depriving yourself of anything that you want and your body truly wants and needs, but I'm talking about sitting and eating an entire Easter egg, not because I was hungry, but because I was bored or stressed or sad, and just eating emotionally and because it was there, not because I was actually hungry. And I'd got into a real rut of doing this at home. Now, if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, then you'll understand this concept of how habits really form and become something you really genuinely do and find it easy to do when they become part of your identity. And I feel like having this walking pad and walking while working has made me step into my healthier me identity. I mean, I'm mostly wearing workout gear most days while I am working from home now, and I find that it's just making me kind of feel like I am a healthy person. I am the kind of person that takes care of my body. I am the kind of person that is making healthier choices. I am the kind of person that moves her body a lot. And that in itself is stopping me wanting to go and reach for the junk just to stuff my face with. And it's making me want to make healthier choices. I guess the other thing is it's also just taking away the boredom factor because I'm walking while I'm working. And apparently this emotional eating can be kind of tied to ADHD in lots of cases, and that kind of chasing the dopamine high that I was kind of just getting from chocolate, and then maybe substituting this walking into my working routine. I'm genuinely not craving the junk as much as I was, and I would go so far as to say it was becoming problematic, the amount that I was eating at my desk. It was getting out of hand. And I feel like this new setup is really helping me step into this identity of like being a healthier person. I'm not sure if that makes any sense at all, but it's honestly happening. So there have been changes in the way I have been eating, but not in a difficult or restrictive kind of way, just in a way that I found that stepping into this new version of me and this new way of being is helping me make sensible choices that are positive for my body, rather than punishing it by stuffing it with food, even if I was feeling full and a bit grim. Does that make any sense? The other kind of unexpected thing, I think, was how much footwear would come into consideration. I think I saw so many people online just walking on their walking pads and socks, but then maybe they were some of the people in the videos that were walking quite slowly. I feel like I could technically walk in socks if I was walking slowly, and I have tried walking in my dance trainers, but they don't have as much arch support. So honestly, I've just found that walking in my Skechers, which were good enough for walking 11 billion steps all around Disney and all around Alton Towers, those have been perfect shoes for me to use on my walking pad. By all means, just pick your own footwear. But I think if there's something you're going to do on a regular basis, it's important to have a bit of consideration about the footwear you're going to use. That's going to be comfortable, it's going to be supportive, that's not going to rub, and ultimately stop you from having, walking related injuries through having the wrong footwear that may stop you from being able to use your walking pad. One thing that is worth noting, if you are an Apple Watch wearer, user, there has been a bit of a discrepancy between the step count on my Apple Watch versus the step count coming from the app that is attached to the walking pad. Now, I'm assuming this is because largely my Apple Watch is resting on the desk where my hands are as I'm typing, so it isn't picking up as much of the step activity. It's also, even if you try and start the workout as a walking indoor workout on your watch, because you're going through the app, it kind of overrides it. So this isn't necessarily a problem. It's just worth noting that your fitness app will only log Apple Watch steps. If you go into the health app on your phone, you'll see the steps counted by the walking pad, which I'm guessing are more accurate. I do find it a bit bizarre that the Apple Health and the Apple Fitness are going to come up with different numbers. And like I said, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of worth noting. The other thing I think I was a little bit surprised by was I thought I was late to the party with all this, the standing desk, the walking pad. I guess in my little echo chamber of the internet where I want to know all I can about productivity and how to get more done, largely because I've just, realized this quite recently since being diagnosed with ADHD, that I've become obsessed with becoming more productive, because productivity does not come naturally to me. I was not brought up to be a productive person. I was not brought up in an organized household. I have had to learn the hard way, the very hard way, how to try and get organized so that I can kind of be there for my children and make sure they've got everything they need. So I have become a little bit obsessed with learning about productivity. I'm gonna be honest, I'm Ree, and I'm a productivity junkie. So with that being said, I thought I was late to the party with this because I see so much of it online, and I think I was a little surprised that not that many people have this kind of walking pad, sit stand setup when they work from home or in an office. And honestly, I think more people should. I think employers should hear that, hey, this is going to help your employees stay more focused. It's going to improve their moods. It's going to improve their health, and they'll have less sick days because their health is better, because they're walking and working. So please, if you have an employer, you should show them this video to try and strengthen your case for having a new setup, because honestly, I really think it makes such a difference to employers as well as employees. I think another thing that really surprised me is genuinely how many steps I've managed to fit in that are extra. So up to an average of 16,000 steps and more per day, coming from 5,000. I kind of figured I'd get it up to about 10K, but some days I'm doing 24,000 steps. I guess I didn't realize it would make that much of a difference. And honestly, I'm going to be really honest with you now. I'm not sure if this is an ADHD thing or a me thing. I think it might be pretty common for women with ADHD, but I think I worried this might be a little bit of a fad, a little bit of a new toy for me, a little bit of something that I do for a bit and then it would gather dust. But honestly, we're a month in and I kind of am at the stage where I can't imagine how I ever used to work without this. I can't imagine ever being able to sit still for all day, every day in order to work without adding in a little bit, at least for some portions of the day, of walking and working now during my routine. And I don't know how I managed that for so long, because it really has made that much of a difference. And I think there is this tendency for people with ADHD to have this shiny object syndrome where we're like, wow, a new thing, and we get really excited, and then shortly afterwards we're not excited by it anymore, and that kind of thing kind of falls to the wayside. But this honestly feels like such a part of my routine now. Like I said, I feel like now I'm like the kind of person that does this. And I mean, we're 100 miles in, we're 30 days in. I guess we need to find out how we're still going in another 30 days, another 60 days, how we're doing this time next year. So make sure you are subscribed with bell notifications on, because I'll definitely be updating in future vlogs. Do you know what? I think the biggest surprise, the biggest takeaway for me is how much I really love this. I have always, I'm going to be honest with you, hated running. I've always hated running. I've had a treadmill before. We had a treadmill in a gym in the garage in our old house. Shout out if you're an OG follower and you remember all the way that far back. But we had this treadmill and it never occurred to me I could just walk on this treadmill. I thought I had to run on it. And I hated running. I hated getting all sweaty. I hated having to make the time to have to wash my hair every time I'd done a run. And I love the fact that I can speed walk. Yeah, I often work with my hair up in a ponytail now, and I've always been a bit of a fan of dry shampoo, but it's not like after I've done this I've got to go and get straight in the shower like I'd have to do if I'd gone for a run. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that slots so effortlessly into my day that it's easy for me to keep going. It makes me more productive. It improves my mood. I honestly can't rave about this enough. I think I'm going to be raving about this for quite some time. So if you want to see more videos about tips for walking and working, how you can use walking to boost your health and productivity and all the things, then let me know in the comments down below. So with all that being said, I'm going to get on with some walking and some working. There's a blog post down in the description with links to the walking pad that I have, plus everything else I've mentioned in this video. Check out my video on screen now for another video I know you'll enjoy. Check out my Patreon for early release content, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye.